Jungkook spotted alone at the airport. What is really going on, and where is he heading? It was not a planned public appearance. There was no prior notice from any management. No fan event, no press release, not even a vague schedule leak. Yet, in the early hours of the morning, amidst the sterile lighting and clinical silence of the international terminal, Jungkook was seen alone. No entourage, no visible security, no fellow BTS members in sight. Just him, head down, hoodie pulled up, moving swiftly through the gates, as if he was hiding from the very fame that had once elevated him into a global icon. And this singular, unannounced moment has now erupted into a storm of speculation. What exactly is going on with Jungkook, and why was he traveling alone? The images began surfacing barely minutes after he was caught on camera. Blurry yet unmistakable, they showed the youngest member of BTS walking with haste. His expression was unreadable, half concealed behind a black mask, yet enough was visible to suggest a seriousness rarely seen in his usually relaxed demeanor. No luggage handler followed. No label representative trailed behind. The only weight he seemed to carry was the one on his shoulders, and it was invisible. What could possibly push Jungkook to leave so discreetly, so urgently, and without the usual fanfare that surrounds his every move? And more importantly, where was he going? Social media erupted. Fans demanded answers. Comment sections filled up within seconds. Theories ranged from spontaneous solo schedules to emergencies. But as time passed, it became increasingly clear this wasn't a typical business trip, nor a casual vacation. Something deeper, something far more complex, was unfolding. The timing, for one, raises more questions than answers. In the weeks leading up to his sudden appearance at the airport, Jungkook had remained relatively low-key. No new updates, no live streams, no usual interactions that typically keep ARMY reassured of his well-being. His silence, previously dismissed as a simple break, now feels disturbingly strategic. Was he preparing for something, or escaping from something? Insiders, those who dared to speak, albeit anonymously, hinted at growing tensions. Not necessarily within the group itself, but around it. Corporate decisions, scheduling conflicts, creative limitations. Words like burnout and frustration began to float. If true, then Jungkook's sudden move might be less about where he was going and more about what he was leaving behind. The location of his departure is also telling. This wasn't Incheon's VIP terminal. He was spotted at a gate used by commercial passengers, far from the private entrances reserved for celebrities of his stature. That choice, deliberate or not, sent a clear message. He didn't want to be seen, but he also didn't care if he was. This blurred line between hiding and reaching out has only deepened the mystery. Was this a cry for help disguised as an act of independence? Further analysis of the images shows something else. He wasn't carrying much. A single carry-on bag, worn but familiar, and a phone gripped tightly in his hand. That phone, many believe, holds the real story. Could this be the device through which decisions were made, tears were shed, or goodbye messages were sent? What was said in the hours before he walked through those gates? One particularly striking image shows Jungkook pausing, just for a second, at the security checkpoint. His eyes, caught in a rare clear frame, reflect something deeply unsettling. Not fear, not nervousness, but resolve. The kind of resolve that comes not from knowing where you're going, but knowing you can't stay to be why mid-morning, the news had already reached international outlets. But none could offer anything beyond speculation. Even those closest to the situation maintained a suspicious silence. And as the hours turned into days with no update from the idol himself, the concern grew. Was this a one-way flight? And if so, to what? Some believe he was heading toward Los Angeles, a city that holds both past memories and creative freedom for BTS members. Others suggest Europe, noting recent movements of other K-pop industry figures toward the continent. A darker theory claims he wasn't going anywhere specific, but away from the cameras, the contracts, the expectations, and perhaps from BTS itself. Could this be the beginning of something new, or the quiet end of something beloved? What makes the situation even more complicated is the absolute lack of communication. Fans are used to cryptic posts, emojis, or song lyrics dropped at suspicious hours. But this time, nothing. No story, no update, just silence. It's the kind of silence that screams louder than any official statement ever could. Observers have pointed out that Jungkook's isolation at the airport is symbolic. He, who was once surrounded by layers of protection, now stands alone. Is this a power move? A sign of reclaiming control over his life and decisions? Or has he been left alone, by choice or by force? Even more unsettling are the recent rumors surrounding the internal environment BTS now navigates. While the group has always maintained an image of unity and brotherhood, several subtle signs over the past year suggest cracks may exist. Jungkook's move, then, could either be an act of self-preservation or silent rebellion, as so many questions remain. Did he tell Taeyong? Did Jimin know? Was RM aware? Or was this decision made in isolation, quietly and painfully, without consultation? And how will the fandom process such a move if it turns out to be irreversible? For now, the flight's destination remains unknown, and so does the reason. But what cannot be denied is the emotional weight this moment carries. Fans are not merely worried, they're devastated. Not because Jungkook was alone, but because he looked like he needed to be in a world where every idol movement is choreographed, documented, and dissected. This unscripted departure stands out like a scream in silence. Whatever the truth may be, it will not be easily forgotten. And so, the questions persist. Why was Jungkook alone? What pushed him to act so urgently and quietly? Where is he now? And what does this mean for the future of BTS? In the age of instant information, where social media shapes perceptions faster than verified news outlets can respond, the image of Jungkook walking alone through an airport becomes more than just a candid photo. It transforms into a cultural moment, a puzzle, and perhaps a provocation. But we must now pause and ask, is this moment as authentic as it appears? Or is it part of a narrative carefully engineered to trigger public attention? For those who witnessed the image first on platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, the reaction was almost immediate. Words like, "Why is he alone? Is this a cry for help?" Or, "What's going on with BTS?" flooded the comments. Emotional interpretations quickly overtook rational examination. But here lies the critical dilemma. In an environment saturated with dramatized storytelling, do we truly believe that what we see is what actually happened? What if the photo was staged? What if the entire event, Jungkook's timing, location, and appearance, was orchestrated by unseen hands behind the scenes? After all, the entertainment industry has long mastered the art of illusion. With a single, ambiguous image, narratives can be spun, controversies ignited, and engagement rates multiplied. Is it possible, then, that this moment was less about Jungkook's actual circumstances and more about the emotions it was intended to provoke? Reflect on this. If Jungkook wanted to leave without being seen, why didn't he use a private route? BTS members have done so countless times before. Could his public appearance be a silent protest against something internal? Or was it instead a subtle performance for the masses? And if it was, who benefits most from the storm it creates? The fans who feel closer to him, or the industry machinery that thrives on virality? Now, consider the sources from which the story emerged. The viral footage originated from bystanders and fan accounts, not professional journalists. It spread on TikTok with dramatic music overlays, was dissected on YouTube by reaction channels, and retweeted with emotionally charged captions. None of these platforms are bound by journalistic integrity. Most serve engagement over accuracy. So again, we must ask, are we consuming facts or feeding on manufactured sensation? Furthermore, have you asked yourself why this particular narrative gained such traction? Why Jungkook? Why now, and why in this manner? Is it merely coincidence that his sudden appearance came at a time when public interest in BTS's future was beginning to wane? Or is this a deliberate attempt to recapture attention by disrupting the silence with ambiguity? These questions are not intended to sow distrust in Jungkook himself, nor to invalidate the emotional reactions of fans. Rather, they serve to emphasize the necessity of critical thought in a digital landscape that too often rewards emotion over evidence. As viewers and readers, we must learn to hold space for uncertainty. We must ask ourselves, do I believe this because it's true, or because I want it to be true? We must also confront our own complicity in spreading unverified information. When we repost an image, speculate in comment threads, or edit a reaction video to intensify drama, we become part of the narrative engine. In doing so, are we uplifting truth, or exploiting an individual's vulnerability for our entertainment? Moreover, there is another layer to consider: the psychological impact on Jungkook himself. If this moment was genuine, if he truly needed space, solitude, or freedom, then our obsession with dissecting his every movement becomes a violation. But if this was indeed a calculated moment, crafted to stir emotion and speculation, what does it say about the manipulation of trust between artist and audience? You, as a consumer of this story, are faced with a choice. Do you take everything at face value, or do you pause, question, and investigate? Do you allow yourself to be swayed by the loudest narrative, or do you quietly analyze the patterns beneath the noise? We invite you, not just as a fan, but as a thoughtful individual, to consider the following. What evidence do we really have about Jungkook's state of mind, intentions, or destination? Who benefits most from this story dominating timelines and headlines? Have we confused emotional resonance with factual truth? Are we protecting Jungkook with our attention, or exposing him to greater harm? We cannot ignore the influence of the media environment in shaping these events. When stories originate not from credible newsrooms, but from anonymous posts and edited clips, it becomes all the more urgent to differentiate fact from fabrication. In the absence of direct clarification, which we purposely avoid inserting at this stage of reporting, we must accept that truth can sometimes be elusive, and that is precisely why skepticism is vital. Before drawing any conclusions about Jungkook's motivations or BTS's future, we urge every reader to reflect deeply. Allow space for ambiguity. Resist the urge to romanticize or dramatize prematurely. Above all, protect your capacity to discern, to question not only what you're being told, but why you're being told it. This moment, whether real or manufactured, will undoubtedly shape conversations for days to come. But its true meaning cannot be dictated by a single image or headline. It can only be understood through critical engagement, open dialogue, and a willingness to look beyond what is immediately visible.